Morning, Jackie. How are you?
Morning. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. So welcome back to another week of tips and chats with Jackie and I. I wanted to first bring up a suburb that I got told about this week, and I've never heard of this suburb before.
Mm,
And the suburb name is I don't even know how to pronounce it. Kungamia. Kungamia.
okay.
And I've lived in Perth my whole life, and I've never heard of this suburb before. And I had a client email me about it. So I did a bit of research into it. It's this tiniest little pocket, tiny little suburb in the east of Perth. And it used to be
Okay.
like a state housing suburb. And it's got some really cute houses there. And it's the location is really close to like Midland, Greenmount, Helena Valley, Hazelmere. So for those people that are looking in Perth, they might sound familiar to you. It's just a little bit further east than High Wycombe. So that will give you an idea of where it is. So Koongamia, Koongamia, and there's property for sale there for mid 400s, which is really
Oh,
great.
nice.
So we're definitely
Yeah.
seeing, where we had people looking in Midland and High Wycombe and Forestfield. We're just starting to see that ripple effect go through to areas like that. And like I said, I've been in Australia, in Perth my whole life, and
Mm.
out of that suburb. So that's my little suburb of the week.
How far away is that from the Perth CBD then?
Oh, I'd probably want to say 25, 30 minutes.
Okay, cool. So actually not too far, and it's on the eastern side, so inland.
Yeah, so eastern to Perth people is lower
Yeah.
demographic than your side. But I actually know the area because when I went and looked at it, there's a place called Goat Farm, and my son has started going there for mountain biking. So
Oh,
it's
cool.
very much like up on a hill, but anyway, there's this big mountain bike track and things like that. So that's why I'm familiar with the area. Just didn't know that little suburb. So for if you can pick up something for mid 400s, maybe 480, there wasn't
Mm.
any rental evidence that I could even suggest what the property would rent out for, like zero stock. Which would be normal because it's obviously there's nothing available and it's a very small suburb, but I would probably price something like that at least 500 a week,
Yeah, nice.
which is some really great returns because in some of the other pockets of Perth where they're around 600,000 and the areas that have been very popular with investors for quite a few years, we're starting to see that very similar return to what I think you guys have got, where it's 600,000, 600 a week. Um,
Mm.
and that's definitely shifted. So to find areas where it's like 450,000, 500 a week,
Yeah.
you're able to sort of maintain some good yields.
Yeah, but there is often, I find that there is some small pockets of areas, and because the suburb's so small, you can often get good deals because people like investors and people aren't actually looking in that suburb because it's so small. So when something pops up, it's like, and for a rental perspective, when tenants search, it's going to show up the surrounding areas anyway to geographical location. So you're still going to get that flow on because of the location. So, interesting. Secret suburb.
Yes, it was secret suburb. What about you?
Yes. My suburb of the week is I'm going to pick Logan home. So it's about 35 minutes out of the CBD, but they've had a lot of infrastructure. It's just a suburb in between kind of the CBD and Gold Coast, and it's just on the crossroad of all the major motorways. So you have like the Gateway, the Logan Motorway, and the M1. So you can just get anywhere very quickly on that network of systems, and decent block sizes. So there are, most of the blocks are like 600 to 1,000 square meters. So you've got a potential of stacking strategies in that area of doing like a granny flat or subdivision down the track. And for a 3-1, I was just having a look. You can kind of sometimes score one under 600, under 550, somewhere like that. And then for the other bigger blocks with those potential around the 700, 750. But what you'll find is if they're on decent square meterage and they're often larger homes, they will rent for around that 700 to 750 as well. So yeah, it was kind of demographic wise a little bit lower compared to its surrounding areas of like Daisy Hill and Springwood and Rochedale. But as the affordability kind of keeps pushing it up, the demographics getting bigger and people are wanting to live in that area because it's so central. So yeah, that's my suburb this week.
Excellent. Now, I want you to repeat what you said to me a minute ago when I was talking about retic. And I was telling you about a couple of things that have come up this week where around retic. And you said,
I said, what is retic? I've never heard of it in my life.
And so many, I do change my vocab a little bit because so many Eastern state people say that to me, and we call it reticulation, and reticulation is a sprinkler system. So that's in your garden. So
yes,
do you guys not really, because you said to me before, like, isn't that what a hose is for? Do you not really have sprinkler systems in your house?
No, we don't. It's very, very rare that like I can only think of one property, and we call it irrigation over here. So it's like irrigating the gardens, and there's only one property that's just on huge square meterage, and the previous owner, they bought off an occupier, and it had all these beautiful gardens, and that was put in place. But definitely for like a traditional rental, no.
Okay. I mean, and apologies for being really naive because my geography isn't my strong point. Are the gardens in the rental property still green, or do they, because of your weather, or do they just die? Or do you have
I would say recently, like, you don't really have to water. We're trying to get away from the water. Like, it's constantly raining over here recently, so we're not having to do a whole lot of watering. But you go back a few years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, things were starting to die, and that's when we talk about doing, like, sometimes you would put like a super soaker hose or something on the grass to establish it if it's a new build, but otherwise not really. We don't actually renters specifically, probably because they get charged for water, but they don't particularly water their grasses. But unless it's like dead or it looks like it's dying, it won't really, it doesn't seem to be much of a problem.
How weird. So in Perth, like I've seen so many properties where the value of the home, it could so easily be improved just by having a beautiful green lawn. So we're quite probably dry over here, so our lawns do get dead quite a lot, but we've also got a culture where we love a patio and sitting underneath it and the grass and outside. And so for us, I think it's very, very important. So we've got two different types of like irrigation or sprinkler systems in Perth. You can have it through a bore, or you can have it through just the mains water. So with the mains water, you can water twice a week. When you've got a bore, which is like the deep groundwater, you can have an extra third day for watering. But what happens is they do require quite a bit of maintenance. To replace a bore pump is about $2,500.
Yes, wow.
So that's quite expensive, but it promotes people using water because it doesn't cost anything to water your garden. So it's sort of point of view. But what happens is when sprinkler systems stop working, all this can bring problems. And I've got about 4 big ones that I'm dealing with at the moment for our rental properties. Calling up the owner and saying, hey, I need to send someone out, for the retic. And they go, well, how much? And it's like, well, I don't know how much it's going to be because I don't know what the problem is until they start looking. So what happens is you can't actually get a quote. This is like an education piece for landlords. I can't get a quote for repairing retic because they have to do the work to find the problem. So they charge for that. The actual fix, once they've found it, is easy, but it's the finding it that costs the money. So you can't quote for that. So my tip this week would be, if you have a property manager call you up with that sort of problem with the system and it's a job that can't be quoted for, just set budget. So my suggestion for retic would maybe say $300. So
Yep.
so then the property manager would go to the company. Listen, I've got approval for $300 worth of works. Can you please do that for me? If it's going to cost any more, then please quote. Now, by the time they get about $300 into a repair job, generally they can go, okay, I can see what the problem is now. It is just going to be another 2 sprinklers or a solenoid or something like that. So they should be able just to quote after that, but the first part of their job is definitely time consuming. So that is my tip and education piece for landlords is set a budget, let them just go and do the work, and then get a quote for anything over and above.
Yeah, and I think that's relevant for most maintenance requests anyway, like especially because we've had those recent storms. A lot of our owners are wanting like 2 or 3 quotes for roofing, and it's like, hey, we can't even get people out there to quote, or they've got lead times up till March. It's like, but if you send them a work order to, hey, can you repair what you can for $500 and then quote on the rest, then you'll actually get people out there. So it's very, and like you'd be the same way. We've got a very advanced network of people that we use, but just because of the shortage of skilled laborers, getting multiple quotes, and especially for like electrical or plumbing where they charge a call out, it's like, do you really want to pay $130 to get 3 quotes, or just, as it comes down to like trusting the trades that your property manager uses and their recommendations.
Yeah, there's a bit of, I think, lack of education with understanding how trades works, because it's, and I'm learning to understand even myself more, but I guess we've got to appreciate that a contractor's time, that they go out to the property, assess what the problem is. Then they have to generally go to Bunnings or go to the shops to buy what they need to do the job. Then they have to come back to the property and do it. So we actually forget about that travel, that time they need to actually physically go and source what they need as well. And I often think, or some owners sometimes might say to me, but that would have only taken them 5 minutes to fix. Well, it might have only taken 5 minutes to fix, but they still had to go there first, travel, come back to do it. And I think we forget that time, don't we?
It's funny, the saying with that is, it's like, it's 5 minutes to make the repair, but this person's trained for 10 years to be able to know where to repair it in 5 minutes. So I am obviously coming from a renovation background. I've got certain empathies for our trades because I know what it's actually like. And when they're under the pump and they're busy, their priorities of quotes just slip further and further down. So I think setting a budget is a good way to keep your tradies happy, get things done quickly, without blowing out the time frame and maintenance taking forever.
Yeah, amazing. And how is the investor activity going over in Queensland at the moment? Are you finding a shift? People still very active?
No, it shifted a while ago actually. For there is a little bit of movement coming back in, but the price point for some of these areas that are stacked for growth is 7, 8, 900,000 for some of these areas. So I think at the same time, for affordability, there's definitely better opportunities in like regional towns like Rockhampton, Townsville, Bundaberg, those kind of areas. Because just getting around the ring of Brisbane and the Gold Coast as well, like for a freestanding house, unless you were to go to the unit market. So it's definitely slower. It's shifted maybe about 6 or 12 months ago, compared to like 21, 22, where it was just probably comparable to what Perth's like at the moment.
Did I tell you about my story last weekend? No. So I had a client book me in to go do a pre-purchase, and I parked around the corner because it was so busy, parked around the corner, walked up to this property. I'm not kidding you when I tell you that there would have been 100 plus people waiting in this line to get into the property. I knew that they had already received 20 offers on this property over a certain price before the home opening even happened. I had to go to my client and just say, listen, I'm making an executive decision on this one. We're not buying it. It's just going to go ridiculous. But I went to quite a few last weekend. All of them smashed with inquiries. The worst I've ever seen it. Like, I've been doing every single weekend, I go out to home open. but probably I've missed one weekend in like 3 years. Like, so I mean, I know exactly what's going on with all these properties. And this is the first time I have seen it so bad. And what I noticed in the crowds was, and this is like a personal thought, is there was I know a lot of property managers and buyers agents. So like when you go out to home opens, you generally see the same people around. Didn't see anyone that looked like a buyer's agent or a property manager, but I saw families, as in older mum and dads, and the children. And when I say they're older children, maybe they're in their 30s or something like that. So I feel like people have just really now gone, you know what? Us parents, we're going to have to help our children go guarantor and get them out of like the rental market or whatever it may be. I think there's been a massive shift with that panic, and that's what I felt like it was out last week, is parents with their children trying to help them find their first home. So
well, just to carry on, isn't that interesting? Because you traditionally look at the market and it's the owner occupiers, first home buyers, and then the investors tap in at the end, where it sounds like with Perth, the investors were the ones that started it. So
very true.
Yeah. Interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah, a bit slow off the back, these ones.
Yeah.
So you're competing with that market now. So that makes it very interesting. I had one, but you know what's annoying? And I know that investors listening to this will say the same thing. Real estate agents can be annoying. So there's a home open again for like last night. So it's all in my diary, but I know to always check the listing before I start heading out to that property, because, you know, not a lot, 50% of the time, maybe a bit less, 40% of the time, something's changed. So I go on about to leave the office, go check it out, look at this home open. There's no mention of inspection time on the ad. So I caught up the sales agent and I said, listen, I'm just checking before I come out. Your home open's not listed. Oh no, the property's sold. We've cancelled the home open.
Yeah.
Didn't even put home open cancel, just remove the time. It was like, lucky I know, but I'm thinking of all these poor people, people wanting to buy it, going out to that home open because they've put it in their diary like I have. No one's there. And that's how we get a bad reputation, because of acts like that.
Oh yeah, sales agents, honestly, they give me the shits most of the time. There's very few that people at buyers agents always ask me, they're like, who are the good sales agents? I'm like, I probably could name 5 that are like good, genuine people. And then the other ones I'm like, I either don't know or I've had bad experiences.
I wish that they would use a similar system to like the rental home opens, where it's a register, because there's a really great agent that I know up my way, where he doesn't advertise the inspection times, but you on the register like through IRE. So you register, they send you through an email, you book in the time and you go, and it makes it easier so that when you rock up, they've got a list of people going there. They can update them if there's a change in time, update them for offers. It's just so easy. And there is only, I've only probably experienced 2 agents that actually use that system in Perth, but it's so much better. I mean, and I won't dismiss this. I've tried to get my sales team to do it and they don't. So it's just a mindset thing, because they're not used to it. But sales rep listening, jump onto IRE or some booking system. It's going to make your life so much easier. And then also increase that customer service when it comes to dealing with your people that want to buy the property.
Yeah, and they're probably more likely to get bigger groups through doing it that way and create the competition. So it makes sense. It's like doing it as an open house, but more of a private inspection. It makes people feel a little bit more inclusive as well.
Yeah. So we've done suburb selection, tips, and rants this week.
Got to get the weekly rant out.
I only say it because I know there's not a lot of real estate agents listening to, sales agents probably listening, so I can get away with having a little whinge about them. But All right, Jackie, I'll see you next week.
All right, see you then. Bye.